This is Kevin M. Turner, Director of Beta, and you are listening to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast.
You are now listening to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast.
Welcome to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dre.
And we are here to discuss March 2022's submissions and winners.
Yeah.
Of course, not all the submissions, because then we'd be here for quite a while now. And thank you all for making IndieEye so popular.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool submissions this month.
This month was really, really strong.
Yeah, it was.
In pretty much all categories. So we've got like just a loaded awards list here, and we'll try to get through this.
Yeah.
But first, Dre.
Yo, yes.
I haven't asked you this in a while. What are you watching?
Murder shows.
So nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. No, except, so the show I've been really obsessed with is Homicide Hunter. And it's got like 9 seasons, and it's with the same Lieutenant Joe Kenda detective that hosts American Detective, which one of our alum, Rodney, was an actor in.
Rodney Roldan.
That's right. So it is a really cool show about his cases, this particular lieutenant's cases that he solved in his like 30-year police career in Colorado Springs. So that is what I have been watching.
Well, and speaking of detective work, we just watched The Batman.
Yes, we did.
And I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very much.
I was a little nervous about, my beloved Edward playing.
You have to move on.
I'm so sorry.
He's Bruce Wayne.
It's difficult. It's difficult for me.
Yeah,
he will always be Edward.
That was great. We've been watching Servant.
Yeah. Trying to, at least. That is the one that we have at least been mostly caught up on.
Yes. I'm still trying to get through Succession.
And trying to start Yellowstone.
We're a mess because we're busy. we're trying to watch things. What I've been watching probably most of all, watching and working on, are fish tuber videos.
Yes, you have.
And what's a fish tuber? Well, you know what a YouTuber is. A fish tuber is somebody on YouTube that talks about fish.
Like fish keeping, the hobby fish.
And I don't know if I've been able to, I don't know if I've had the opportunity to say this on IndieEye, but I edit for a YouTuber. Her name is Irene. Her channel is Girl Talks Fish, and she works for Aquarium Co-op. And I am one of her editors, so she sends me amazing A-roll and B-roll, and she's incredibly meticulous and organized, so I get this nice little Dropbox style dump of media, and it takes me a very short amount of time to edit. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, well, and as a fish keeper yourself, it is a hobby that you at least know about and that you're interested in. It's not like, some sort of just weird hobby that, you don't have any personal interest in. So that probably makes it a little easier too.
Yes. And I stay within the atmosphere of Aquarium Co-op, which is a store in Edmonds, Washington, where they have fish, but they really specialize in aquarium plants, really good foods, really good Aquarium Co-op brand products.
Yeah, they make a lot of their own products, right?
Yes.
Like as far as things that you use inside of your tanks.
It's fish keeping products designed by fish keepers.
Yeah. For
fish keepers,
yeah,
people in the hobby.
It's like cars designed by car people.
Right.
Like very cool, very efficient.
And I watch Aquarium Co-op, their channel, and Corey McElroy, who's the owner, he has his own channel also where he talks about business, and that really
that's super
sucks
interesting.
me in. But he is also affiliated with Girl Talks Fish. Irene works for Aquarium Co-op. So I get to edit for her, watch a lot of Aquarium Co-op stuff. They actually have, and I'll talk about this on a whole other thing, but they have their own videographer too. So you filmmakers out there, there's lots of opportunities to work with YouTubers
or just businesses that have a presence on YouTube. It's not like any of these people are just YouTube people. They have actual businesses, and they have it's just YouTube is one of the avenues that brings awareness to their brand. and to their education that they provide. So there's a lot of opportunity, not just for corporate stuff, but, you know, when you're trying to get people into a hobby or educate people, that's an avenue as well.
And something else that the co-op's owner has done is bring in Zenzo Tazawa, who's also on YouTube. His channel is Tazawa Tanks. And the reason why we're talking about all of this is because the first film we're going to talk about is a doc short that I happened to see on YouTube from Zenzo. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I would love to talk about this project on our podcast. So we connected, Zenzo submitted, and I'll just tell you right off the bat, his doc short called How Keeping Aquariums Changed My Life is our doc short of the month.
Yay!
But now we actually get to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that was a weird segue. Why are indie film people talking about fish tubers? Well, this is kind of why. I have these worlds are colliding
Yeah, they
for
are.
me. So Zenzo submitted this film that he shared on his YouTube channel. And he started YouTube about 4 years ago, I believe. And just wanted to share his experiences with fish keeping and his knowledge and his trial and errors. He was doing a lot of DIY type of stuff and keeping his tanks. But he's really grown since then. His channel's grown. Well, he's a bodybuilder, so he's
grown.
He's grown. And his fish room has grown into this immaculate set piece that was actually put together by Aquarium Co-op. The owner and an associate with them that works with them came to Zenzo's house and redesigned his fish room and like set it up to be this YouTube studio, but also a beautiful fish room that he can enjoy. And the reason why we're even talking about this is because he took the time to write and film and edit this little piece that was really introspective and personal about why he enjoys keeping aquariums and how that has changed his life. And it really has changed his life because he's gone from a corporate guy doing the whole, you know,
9 to 5.
9 to 5. Well, really 9 to 10.
It was.
I mean, the guy worked all day. He had to fly all over the place, constantly working, big corporate stuff, lots of pressure. And he was good at it. But Corey from Aquarium Co-op, came to him with an opportunity to work for the co-op. And, you know, isn't that just the dream for all of us to get offered a job, a career, to replace your normal career, and it's something you love.
Yeah,
and
it's your hobby. It's the thing that you would do in your spare time.
And he does very important things behind the scenes with Aquarium Co-op, and he's got to run a lot of things. He's responsible for a lot of things. But it's all things that he's good at, and it's all really revolving around the hobby of fish keeping. So this particular video, How Keeping Aquariums Changed My Life, it's a narration from Zenzo that he wrote, and it's had the shots are him maintaining the tanks and looking at the fish and feeding fish.
And his close-ups of his schools of fish. I mean, he has beautiful fish. And I'm not like a fish person. I don't really know the difference between one species or another. But just the way that they are set up in the tanks and the way that the shots are. I mean, he did a really good job of really showcasing his own fish in a beautiful way.
So if I told you he keeps cichlids, but a range of cichlids like Mbuna and peacocks and things like this, Solosi, if I said those things, you don't know what I'm talking about.
Nope.
Okay.
Is it a goldfish? That's what I know.
Well, this struck personally with me because a couple years ago, actually, I guess right around when COVID began, I started a tank, and I had a tank a long time ago, but I started a new aquarium, and I just needed something just outside the office here at home that I could go sit at and literally watch a plant grow and not edit. Just to walk away from the work and focus on something else and care for something else and nurture something else. And it's been really helpful to me. And then, of course, it introduced me to this whole Aquarium Co-op Girl Talks Fish kind of thing. And then there's so many out there that are really good at sharing their experience and doing things in the fish tube universe. But Aquarium Co-op is kind of like I would say it's the umbrella of all fish keeping on YouTube. Everybody knows.
They're the gold standard.
Right, in my opinion, anyways. So I found it very personal, and I think that it's a wonderful example of allowing yourself to be vulnerable and honest and just sharing something. Because I know that Zenzo was really unsure about how this was going to be viewed. It wasn't his typical, hey, here's how you fix this in your fish, or here's my mud skipper video. This was a very personal thing, and he didn't know what the reaction was going to be. Well, and I just thought it was so wonderful. I wanted to be able to share it on IndieEye. So we have the video linked at the winners page. So I'm telling everybody, go to the winners page and watch Zenzo's video, How Keeping Aquariums Changed My Life. Because I want you to see that before you hear the bonus IndieEye episode. I was able to have an interview with Zenzo and get into this more deeply and talk about life as a YouTuber, what the transition from corporate to YouTube was like, and just about his experimenting with making this particular film. And I think there's a lot there that Zenzo said that would be helpful to all of our listeners when it comes to content creation or trying to turn content creation into a full-time job. So I definitely encourage everyone to listen to that bonus episode, which I have released simultaneously with this podcast. So if you're hearing this podcast right now, that bonus episode should already be available.
Yeah.
So stop listening to the award show and just go listen to Zenzo.
You need to
no,
finish
that's not
this.
what we're doing?
No,
okay.
Finish listening to this.
Oh, well, I guess we'll continue then. But thank you, Zenzo, so much for connecting with me and sharing your work. I hope it really inspires others to do kind of the same thing and be introspective about themselves and share what brings them joy and be able to be honest and vulnerable, things like that. And that finding things that interest you to make little documentaries about are what doc shorts are perfect for.
Yep.
And I just think he nailed it. It's a home run for me.
Yep, good job.
And since we're already here at the documentary department,
Yes.
let's talk about
Fourth floor.
What?
Fourth floor.
Fourth floor.
I don't know. It just sounded like something I needed to say.
Can I finish this podcast?
No.
Please. We're tired. So, a documentary we received, I was blown away by.
Oh my gosh.
This is a documentary feature sent to us by Elijah Stevens.
So good.
Directed by Elijah Stevens, called Send Proof. And I'm going to read the synopsis here. Millions of people claim to have experienced miraculous healing. Send Proof asks the question, where's the evidence? When his former pastor leaves the faith, director Elijah Stevens embarks on a journey to find evidence for miracles. Along the way, he interviews atheists and skeptics, medical researchers and academics, and those claiming to have experienced miraculous healing. Will he find the proof he seeks? Now, when I read this synopsis, I was like, okay. And it's a doc feature?
Yeah.
So
With
we're going to
like
be here a while?
Hour plus runtime.
All right. Okay. Let's give it a shot.
We did.
I was enthralled from
my gosh.
the jump.
So good.
This is so well done. And it starts, so perfect.
I know.
Mwah.
I know.
Chef's
Chef's kiss.
It starts so perfect. He's got clips from from all sorts of all over the clock. What am I trying to say?
Wow.
He has archived footage from like inside churches and televangelist type things it's cut together so well, but people being healed and evangelists evangelizing in that evangelistic way.
Yep.
But it's so darn well put together. And normally with these types of things, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to roll into some fairly mundane A-roll and it's going to be boring. But no, not only is Elijah Stevens asking really interesting questions, he participates in this documentary.
Yes.
He's physically present in interviewing, like there's man on the street style interviews. There are direct, talking head style personal interviews with people.
And they're well shot. They're not like sit you in front of a blank wall and have a conversation. The shots are gorgeous. They make sense. You know,
things are well thought out.
Yes.
The audio is pristine. The supporting music is pristine. It never lingers on one thing so long and hammers a point. It's always
it's
always
moving.
I mean, it is a fair investigative search for why people believe so passionately. And it's just born out of genuine curiosity.
That comes across for sure, because he asks the questions.
Right. And it's this brilliant and exhaustive use of archive footage. And honestly, it's one of the best documentary features we've ever received.
Absolutely.
And while honestly, I thought when I hit play, okay, I'll skip through this and see what this is about, I was stuck on it. And it took me like an hour and a half of watching it. Before I knew it, it was over. And, you know, dang it, Elijah, if you didn't get me to watch this whole thing and be enthralled by it all. Listen, whether you're a believer or not, none of that matters as far as this doc feature being entertaining.
Yep. Or again, like sort of like a masterclass in how to handle all these different parts of what a documentary should include.
Right.
Interviews, man on the street, archived footage, like how to piece all that stuff together. It was really, really well done in that respect, regardless of the content. Mm-hmm. Just all of the pieces put together beautifully is definitely something to look at.
And it does it all, I feel, without a specific agenda.
Yeah.
It's legitimately saying, why do you believe this?
Yep.
And why do you believe this other thing? And what have you experienced that makes you believe that? Mm-hmm. And leaves Elijah asking himself, you know, what is going on here? What is the truth? And then he prompts at the end, asking viewers, if you've experienced what you believe is a miracle, please share that with us. Go to the website and share your story with us as they continue to investigate the miracles.
Yep.
So that was Send Proof by Elijah Stevens. And Elijah, Send Proof wins our documentary feature for March of 2022.
Yay!
Thank you for sharing. This month also delivered a handful of animation projects that were really interesting. And what I'd like to talk about here is called Sun and Moon, directed by Brianna Green, created by Brianna Green. You know, when somebody submits an animation, let's not forget she's the one doing like all of the work here.
Yeah.
So
all the parts of it, the storyboarding, the artwork, the editing, everything.
And this is about two celestial teenagers' desire to be together between nighttime and sunrise. And this is a simple yet beautiful animation. And it's essentially about the sun and the moon falling in love, but they can't be together because they can never be at the same
place.
Same place at the same time. So it's this forbidden love analogy. She keeps it super short.
Yeah.
And it's under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And she uses a very basic story structure that's used well and efficiently. And I just thought Brianna really did a fantastic job here. She's from Baltimore. And I read that she graduated from George Washington Carver Center for Arts and Technology and the School of Visual Arts with a BFA in animation. And she self-publishes children's books.
Yeah, so she's kind of good at this.
Yeah. She's a good storyteller.
Yeah, she is.
And she's got some quals in her, some qualifications.
Yeah, and the cool thing, I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but there's no dialogue in this animation.
Yeah, we can say whatever we want.
Well, that's true, but I didn't want to like spoil anything. But the fact that she could tell a 4-minute story just visually with no dialogue, you know exactly what's happening. You know exactly how these characters feel. And her animation is not so complicated that it requires a bunch of, I don't want to say a bunch of art, but the line drawings are very simple, but they're so effective. You can tell how the characters feel. And she doesn't just use their emotions on their faces. She uses items in the background. She uses, just the things around.
Flourishes.
Yeah, to show how they feel, almost comic booky, but with classy. I don't know. It's like there's so many things I could say, but
bottom line,
very
it was
good.
Cute.
Yeah,
it was well done. It told a story.
Yep.
and it was short.
Yes.
So, and we received other animations also.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about another one later in a little bit. But Brianna, we gave Sun and Moon our best animation for March of 2022.
Yay.
Thank you for sharing your work. Another interesting submission we received was The Trust Game, directed by Aaron Dykes and Melissa Dykes. Now, this is submitted as a web series because what we got was part 1 of a 10-part web series. And I'm going to read the synopsis here because that would be easier. With equal parts sarcasm and intensive scrutiny, The Trust Game, a 10-part series, began as an attempt to revisit the secretive creation of America's central bank, but unwound into 4 centuries of intrigue, starting with a revolution against absolute control. Now, a new phase of revolution is underway. With ramifications and possibilities we are only just beginning to understand, cryptocurrencies have the power to shape our collective energies and even direct who we are. And the build-up to this is quite telling. Now, here's what I'm going to do with The Trust Game, because this is where Elijah in Send Proof made things very easy. Aaron and Melissa here made things very, very dense. And this was a web series entrance. Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
So, it is a serial. It's episodic.
Yep.
But they've really done a lot of work here in digging into all sorts of historical material. So the most succinct thing I can say is tell people to go to the winners page and look at the links that we have for The Trust Game and let Aaron and Melissa tell this story more than I can kind of give feedback on what's there, because it's what you'd expect in a type of documentary presentation, but it's pretty high energy, and they do a lot of really good work in there, a lot of good things that, probably blow your mind. I mean,
the content is going to blow your mind, or like the way that they've presented it?
Well, I think they did a good job presenting it.
Okay, great.
But I was highlighting the actual content.
Got it. Okay.
You don't have to put on a tinfoil hat to watch this
But
or
I
anything.
like my tinfoil hat. It's very cute.
No, this is serious stuff.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
very relative to things that are going on in the world today. And this was an interesting look at a lot of these historical talking points. And I could tell you that just from all of the work that Aaron and Melissa have put into this, it was a huge winner for me, which is why we gave The Trust Game Best Web Series of March of 2022.
Yay!
Now, a big aspect of IndieEye that I have found very rewarding, that I hadn't anticipated, was this whole music video submission category. Because we've received so many things that have made me a fan out of something I had no idea existed.
Yeah.
Because kids, when you're this old, it's really the music you enjoyed when you were 14
Yes.
that you hang on to for the rest of your life. So you don't listen to new music anymore.
Big facts.
But we received this submission for music video, and it's called Berlin to Beijing by, well, let me just explain. Let me give you their overview. A travel music video about the intense collaboration, songwriting, and exchange in general between the German brass band Moza and Beijing-based rap artist C-Jam. This breathtaking and profound journey, which has been taking over a year in pre-production, shows how music connects people from around the world, even when the culture, languages, and political system could not be more different. And this is directed by cinematographer Peter Heinrichs. And it's, number one, it's gorgeous.
It is so good. It looks so good. Every single frame, every single shot looks so good.
Like high quality
Yes.
music video.
And high quality camera movement too. It is not amateur.
And I hit play before I read anything about it. I just wanted to watch the music video and see what was up. And it starts and I'm like, wait a minute.
What is
I
this?
don't understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's not in English.
It was new.
And,
yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is really compelling. I have no idea what they're saying, but it's super good. And like this C Jam is really good, and
Yeah.
he's got a screen presence, and then it brings in the band, and I mean, I really enjoyed it. We're linking it up at IndieEyeFilmAwards.com.
I'm so glad people can watch it.
Yeah, go to the winners page and check out this video, Berlin to Beijing by Moza, featuring C Jam, and we had no choice but to give this Best Music Video for March of 2022.
Yay!
Way to bring cultures together, guys. I love to see that kind of stuff where you don't expect this to happen, and it just works together so well. And we're not all at war,
Right?
And we don't all hate each other, and the things the media tells us isn't true.
Seriously.
Go talk to your neighbor. Everybody's fine. Nobody hates anybody. Well,
I mean, people do hate people.
I might be overgeneralizing, but I'm just like, you know what? Let's just create together.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's not go down that route.
Speaking of horror.
Speaking of world horror. Great. I'm glad you got there, because we have a really fun submission I can't wait to talk about. And you will find a written review of this next project at IndieEyeFilmAwards.com under our reviews page. By the way, we offer written reviews, and now we've changed that into a pricing tier,
Right.
so that if a feature-length written review it's still about the same price we had it, but if you have a short, or maybe you want a review on your music video, or anything that's designated a short of any kind, it is a little bit less, because it's less,
It's less time to watch.
So the big thing that you really have to do in a review is really watch it, and sometimes you
Multiple
can't just watch
times.
it once, because you want
Exactly.
to give it, all of your attention, or you're writing about a specific thing. You want to go back to that part, watch it again. So we're now offering that in a different tier, and we do have a write up for this next project called Maggots of the Mind. That's right, maggots.
Yep.
Of the Mind. And this is directed by Grayson Gibson, and his premise is that Carl is up against the clock in a critical situation to exist. Now, you know what, Grayson? I have no idea what that means. I'm gonna be honest with you. I most of this short film is a big WTF for me. Okay? But I don't even care, because I love the ambition here. And I love that you have the freedom to create whatever you want, and not just the freedom to do it. I'm not talking about the permission sense. I'm saying you feel free to shoot whatever you want and do whatever you want and make it what you want. And I love that. There are no haters that are ever going to derail Grayson from doing what he wants to do. And this is just a man who's going to do his own thing. He's going to love every minute of it. And I felt like that came through. Now, keep in mind, I'm all up on this happy beat stuff, but this is a very, it's like a psychological horror. There's not mass amounts of gore here.
No.
But there is some implied grossness.
Yes.
There's a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
But the horror for Dre would be trapped inside of a bathroom.
Oh my God. I could literally I kept looking away.
But what Grayson does here, because he wrote it, he shot it, he stars in it, he edited the whole thing. This is a one-man show, and he really goes all out in performance.
He really, really sold it.
He goes from, I'm trapped in this place to I've completely lost my mind. And for me, it just looks like it was probably such a fun thing for him to do.
Yeah,
and
he's shooting while he's acting.
Sure,
and he's all these different angles.
He's got to think about camera placement and how he's going to edit it.
And that was challenging. His location was very challenging.
It really
I
was.
can only imagine the reason why certain shots were certain ways was because they're just limited, very limited in his options.
Right.
Now, but I think he did a great job with his limitations.
We also have this linked because it was on YouTube. So Grayson has it publicly available for anybody to watch. We have this linked at the website. So go watch this, because I want to say, I don't want to spoil things that are in it, But I do want to say, if I'm giving, any feedback whatsoever to Grayson specifically, would be to just lean into some of these things you did. Now, he totally leans into performance.
Yes, absolutely.
But I felt like there was an opportunity here for when something really gross has happened, to have physical evidence of that grossness when he reappears into frame.
Yes, there's a couple of times when that could have happened.
Yeah, there really are.
Yeah.
And I felt like, if you're going to do it, go
all
the
in,
way.
yeah.
But I did have a conversation with our reviewer, DJ. I had an exchange with him. He actually was really glad that Grayson didn't go all the way. And so I respect both opinions here.
Sure.
I'm thinking, if it's me, and if I'm going so far as to imply this one particular thing that Grayson implies,
Right.
I'm going to say, you know what? Not only are you going to hear it,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you evidence that it happened with, some sort of, again, I can't spoil anything.
Prosthetic.
Well, not prosthetic, but there are things in your kitchen you can use to pull off.
Yes, certain things.
Some practical effects of this
Practical
happening.
effects,
Now,
yeah.
you, I, and Grayson are right now are the only ones listening who know what I'm talking about. But I think I hope everyone goes over and checks it out.
Yeah.
Give Grayson a few minutes of your time.
Give him some love.
And look at this young man. Follow his channel and just watch him grow, because I think there'll probably be some really interesting things from him in the future. So, Grayson, we're giving Maggots of the Mind Best Horror for March of 2022.
Yay!
For less horror, we tune in to our Best Narrative Feature department. What floor is that on, Dre?
That is the second floor.
Second floor.
Yes.
Okay, now we know. We received a submission called Not on This Night, directed by Bill Humphreys. Now, I got to set this up, because you get a narrative feature, you think, okay, you're going to sit here and watch a typical movie. But that's not what this is. And it really interests me, because what Bill has done here is essentially shoot a stage play, but shoot it as a film.
Yeah.
Or actually, maybe he shot a film
On a stage.
as a stage play. Yeah, I mean, they're using, and his production company is like Stage Right, is what they call it, and they're taking screenplays, or not screenplays, but stage plays, scripts that are meant for the stage, and shooting them as films, but this takes place on the stage.
Yeah, and they don't hide the fact that they're on a stage.
Right, no, quite literally, they open with showing you an empty theater and moving into that. So they embrace all of that, which is
so cool, because everybody likes to see, most people like to see plays.
I do.
Most people like to see plays.
Not Dre.
And
I
so
do.
so to feel like you are there is a different experience than just watching a movie and them hiding the backgrounds and the set dressings and all of that stuff. They really make you feel like you're sitting there. You can see the stage floor. You can see behind the props. They embrace it.
Well, let me read the synopsis before we gush about how much we loved this. And it reads as follows. The story centers on a chance encounter between enemy combatants in the small farmhouse home of a young French woman, Jacqueline Brulé, on Christmas Eve, 1944. As the Battle of the Bulge has been raging around her for weeks, Jacqueline unexpectedly finds herself sheltering and tending to two young, wounded soldiers, an American, Eddie Miller, and a German, Reinhold Schultz, who have been lost in the woods, separated from their units. Boy, you don't want to be separated from your unit. You know what I mean?
Especially during the Battle of the Bulge.
You know what I mean? Okay.
You started it.
All right.
You walked me into it.
I'm finishing the synopsis now. For anybody listening, I apologize for Dre's insensitive, unprofessional, not safe for work comment.
Please continue.
As the night passes, enemies see themselves as human beings. Humanity prevails, even in the bloody, wretched depths of war. So if you're just now tuning in, that means it's a period piece.
Yes. Which are my favorites.
Yes. And it's gorgeous. It's very, very intimate. This is an absolutely beautiful presentation. And we're talking from the stage work, the set design, the blocking, the camera work, the lighting, the costuming. It's just this well-told, intimate story. There's 3 characters that carry this whole thing.
Yeah. They are amazing actors. I mean, you have to be a good actor to act on stage. It just, your flaws show so much when you're not good at what you do on stage. I mean, live performance is ridiculous.
Right.
And they just nailed it.
It's, you have to constantly remain in character and interact with the scene, not just wait for your line.
Yep.
And there's no, cut. That, of course, there could have been in this
There
production.
probably was, yeah.
I mean, also, I want to have a moment to talk about Judith Feingold, CJ Vautour, and Preston Mead, who starred in this. They were all amazing. And just these beautifully blocked performances with gorgeous light, gorgeous camera work, all for something that was done on a stage. And the production design for this was just spot on. Mm-hmm. And, you can tell we're doing some theater style setups here, but I thought it added to the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it made it stand out and be very unique.
Yep.
So that's why we gave Bill Humphries Not on This Night our best narrative feature for March of 2022.
Yay!
But we also enjoyed Judith, CJ, and Preston so much that we gave Not on This Night our best ensemble cast.
Yeah, we did. Yay!
Thank you, Bill, and everybody involved in Not on This Night. What a huge accomplishment you've made. It's such a wonderful film.
Yeah, and if you do more of these, which it seems like maybe that's what you do.
Yeah.
Please submit again. We would love to see something else from your team.
Love to see it.
Love to see it.
That is the current buzz term that we're making fun of in our household. So I don't know if anybody can tell, but when we become a fan of someone, we really become a fan.
Yeah, we do.
Of someone, especially when they make it so undeniable.
Yeah.
Now, we received so many good submissions this month. And I think I was probably set on a short film winner. But then we received a submission later in the month that just...
I mean, there's just, yeah.
And
in all the ways.
It's, it's fantastic for us because we got to enjoy this, and it's one of our favorite shorts we've received.
Yeah.
But it's just goes
I
to
will
show.
watch it again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it goes to show just the competition that's out there. And when you're doing something like IndieEye where it's every month, it's really kind of just how the game plays out. And this happens with every film festival, and it's probably certainly easier to get recognized with IndieEye than it is a Sundance with your submissions. But it's just, this is how narrative short broke this month. But this narrative short had a very, very heavy impact on a lot of categories this month. And I'm going to tell you about this piece we received called 4 Pins. And it's directed by Matthew Belts. Now, if you've been listening to IndieEye for a while, you know Matthew Belts directed last year's favorite, Death March, which was a short film that won its month and was in mega contention for short of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, Death March was probably in a fight to the finish with Beta, which was obviously one of our favorites, directed by Kevin Turner.
That's right.
But Matthew Belts sent in 4 pins, and he threw his hat in the ring for a lot of categories. This was an amazing short film, and I'm going to read the synopsis before Dre goes off. Tucked away in western Massachusetts lies a beautiful, quiet little town called Shelburne Falls. Here, a young man named Tommy Graves spends his days tending to the declining lanes of the local bowling alley. In this place, time feels stuck, as does Tommy. This is good writing, people.
Yeah, it is.
Trapped in a repeating cycle of his own, as his grasp on memory slowly slips away, is Walter, an older gentleman, who comes in to bowl with his grandson every week. But his grandson doesn't show up, so now Tommy and Walter have to face each other, as well as their own shortcomings. Written by Jimmy Luke, and with cinematography by Devin Bussey, Matthew Belts has directed a little short film masterpiece that is refreshing, unique, heartfelt, and again, I'll use the word intimate because there are 2 characters.
Yep, in one room.
And almost 3 characters if you include the bowling alley.
That's true.
Which is
it has so much character.
And it's used so effectively well throughout. And credit to Devin Bussey, who has this amazing touch with the camera.
Yep.
Where there was a particular oneer that comes down the bowling lanes and engages with the actors as they're having a conversation, and it's just so organic and natural. And like, I notice it because of what I do, and I'm thinking, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
This is good. How fun is this? But the best part is that if you weren't looking for that, you would have never have noticed it was a oneer probably, and just would have been engaged in the conversation like you were supposed to be. And that's what good cinematography and good editing does. And Four Pins is in black and white.
What did I say when he walks in? What did I say? When they finally reveal, when he walks in and they kind of reveal him and where he is and the whole scene. What did I say? I want to live there and I want that hat.
Oh, right.
That's what I said.
Right.
Because I want to live in that bowling alley, and I don't know where they found this relic. But if it's a real place, it is on my bucket list to bowl there, because it is a character of its own. And the detail shots that they show of this place and all of the inner workings and the behind the scenes of everything, to me, that was the masterpiece part for me.
Right. Yeah. And it puts let me also say that it brings back George Lavoie. And gosh, Matthew, if I'm saying George's name wrong, will you please send me an email and correct me? Because I hope I'm saying it right. But George Lavoie was also our Best Supporting Actor of the Year for his performance in Death March.
Yeah.
But he's back in a Matthew Belts work as the lead. Well, he's, there's
co-lead,
2 leads.
Yeah.
For this film. And he's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And so is Vince Petronio, who plays Walter.
I mean, like, the two of them together were so dynamic, but so subtle.
They have great chemistry,
Yeah.
which says a lot about Matthew Belts. He's cast well because casting is directing, and he's managed this great chemistry between the two.
Yeah.
Which has great writing by Jimmy Luke. Obviously, I think Devin Bussey is a fantastic and passionate cinematographer.
Yeah, one of my very favorite shots, I'll just say it, but it's so simple, but it's the two of them walking into the building, but it's just a shot of their feet crossing the threshold. And to me, it was just like the way that some amateurs get that point across is just to have a shot of them just walking in, but to lower the camera completely to the ground where you're just seeing their shoes and them crossing the threshold together it's just that added little touch that just made it so much better, so much more creative.
Well, and we've talked about this bowling alley, and the production design also by Jimmy Luke, who wore several hats. The costumes by Coco Roy. I want to give credit here to the editing for Alex Cameno and to the colorist, Jean-Pierre D'Alençon.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
That sounds good.
So, I mean, everybody has done a good job here. And I think the theme that needs to be highlighted once again is that you have a director who's able to work with these other people who specialize in what they do.
Yeah.
And you're letting the talents of others make your film better. Rather than trying to wear all the hats and do all the things, you're creating a team. And of course, sometimes we're just limited on budget or who's
resources,
in our circle.
Yeah.
We can't always rely on the best people available to do these different jobs, but it does show when you do have that opportunity or you make that effort to make that happen.
Yeah.
Your project is going to stand above and beyond others who are just, it's a one-man band trying to do it all, which I respect. That's usually
Of course,
me doing my job.
Yeah, and that's a lot of times how these things start. Not everybody
Right.
gets to start out with a sound designer and somebody who can compose original music for you. I mean, that just doesn't happen straight out of the gate for a lot of people. So, you know, it is something to aspire to for sure.
Well, it is a short, sweet story.
Oh, it is so sweet.
Wonderfully acted, absolutely memorable, and certainly one of our favorite shorts we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So Matthew Belts is collecting a lot of awards here for 4 Pins. And so that you don't have to clap each time, I'm going to go down a list, and then you can give them all the applause you want.
Awesome.
Okay? 4 Pins wins our Best Narrative Short for March of 2022.
Yeah, it does.
But it's also taking home Best Director for Matthew Belts, Best Cinematography for Devin Bussey, Best Sound Design for Alvaro Morales, Best Original Music, which we didn't talk about at all, but
it's so important.
beautiful.
Yes.
And that's credit to composers Daniel Hill and Taylor Field. 4 Pins also earns George Lavoie a Best Actor
Woo woo.
win for us. It earns Vince Petronio Best Supporting Actor.
Yay! Nailed it.
And none of it was like, oh, just give them all to him. It was, okay, this is the best in everything.
It really, honestly, truly was. And if you go watch 4 Pins, can they watch it?
Not
Can
yet.
see it?
Nope.
Okay. When you get a chance to watch
But
it,
go to the links
Yeah.
and
follow along.
Follow along.
You will never argue the fact that this film deserves every single one of these categories.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to hear it. Don't at me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matthew Belts, for sharing that with us, for coming back to IndieEye.
Dude, we love everything you do.
I really appreciate it.
good.
And the team that you've assembled and creating, we want to see more. We look forward to seeing all of you continue to create. And I may have to reach out to you, Matthew, about doing an interview with IndieEye.
Yeah.
If you're not busy out there doing your next film right now.
Doing awesome stuff.
Right. So there's some other things I want to touch on before we close, but I want to get some honorable mentions in here because it was a super strong month, and we received an animation called Nowhere, directed by Asaki Nishino, and Asaki Nishino is from Japan, so that was really cool. We received a submission from Japan. And Nowhere is a super unique animation. Now, honestly, most of the time I'm also watching this going, WTF. But it was so imaginative and always had something interesting going on. Even if I didn't quite follow the concept of everything very well, I think Asaki Nishino did a really wonderful job in this project. And Nowhere is an honorable mention. Another honorable mention that was really good, I thought, was directed by Mark Hensley, called You're Early.
Super fun concept.
And Mark Hensley, I was tracking with this whole thing the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was so happy it played out the way it did because I was as in the middle of this short where someone comes home early. Well, I really can't say much without giving anything away. But the people involved, the actors were great. I think Mark Hensley did a wonderful job directing. And it was a fresh, unique short film. And I think this is probably Mark's wheelhouse. I think because he had 2 submissions this month.
Okay.
And this kind of goes back to a conversation Mark and I had, I think about a month ago or so. And the other submission is not ready for IndieEye yet, but Mark did share that. He shared a work in progress.
Right.
Not ready for me to talk about it on IndieEye at this point, but this short, You're Early, it's certainly one of the more memorable ones we've received at IndieEye, and I like what Mark can do. And there's a special tension but comedy to this short film that's very unique, and my sense is, without knowing Mark at all, my sense is that that's very unique to Mark and is very in touch with probably his voice.
Yeah, I agree. And I loved how you weren't really sure how to feel
Right.
You were questioning it the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's very good storytelling again.
Yeah, it keeps you guessing.
Yeah.
when some might be well, I'll just say it'll keep you guessing.
Yeah.
But good job, Mark. Thanks for sharing your early. We didn't have any social links or anything for the film, so I can't send anybody to go see your early. So if you do, Mark, if you're listening to this and you have a location where people can see this film, please send it to us and we'll link it over at the website.
Yeah.
And really quickly, a couple of other honorable mentions we had was Silence of Scent, directed by Hassan Qureshi. This was a narrative feature that was beautiful. It was super well shot. Competition was tough, and it wasn't our winner for this category, but it's absolutely an honorable mention. And that's Silence of Scent by Hassan Qureshi. And The Secret of Movement, which was a doc short that was submitted to us. Although, for some reason, and I don't know how, it got in after the submission deadline.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And I have to investigate how that was even possible.
Yeah.
But that did come in, and I checked that out, and I thought that was really good as well. So, The Secret of Movement by Serene Khalid, who did a really wonderful job on this, is also an honorable mention for IndieEye this month. And so is a something. We were seeing
a lot of categories for this one.
This next project has an identity crisis.
Yes, it does.
And it's called Forest Under Stress, and it's equal parts animation, narrative short, and doc short.
Yeah.
About a forest plagued by drought. It's a true story. It's a true.
Yeah. So it goes under the documentary category for sure, because it's got facts and history, and
but they lean heavy on animation.
Yeah, and narration
and sound, and sometimes obnoxious sound design. But it's in a forest plagued by drought. A group of help me with this, Dre. Mycelia fungus struggles to provide water to a desperate root system. So in its part science project, it's like you could sit your child down and have them learn something.
Well, it's almost like it was potentially a school project for someone, because it felt like it was all the things a teacher would want to see about your research project.
Right. And directed by Michelle, I hope this is right. Directed by Michelle Joy Hall Bravo Ramirez.
Yes.
Okay.
All 5 names.
And Rachel Lee Hall. And just a really an interesting project. But for me, it was like, and they did submit to multiple categories.
Right.
So they know that this is really a unique project that could fall here or there. But I do feel like it suffers from that identity crisis. What makes it unique also kind of makes it suffer.
Yeah.
In submitting to a film festival.
Well, yeah, because no matter which category it was in, there was a really good competition that really knew what genre they were. Yeah. So it was just hard.
But
still an honorable mention.
Let's not let that take away from the fact that these people put in a lot of work.
Yep.
Did a great job on making this project Forest Under Stress. Thank you for submitting your all honorable mentions for IndieEye for March. Not everyone makes it to the honorable mention stage, so we did enjoy your work, and we wanted to bring it up on the podcast. Okay, so we'll end this because I have to edit this podcast and get it out. And I just want to remind everyone that there is a bonus episode of IndieEye, which is an interview with Zenzo Tazawa of Tazawa Tanks from YouTube and Aquarium Co-op about his winning doc short this month. Really interesting if you want to hear from the perspective of a content creator who has gone from doing YouTube to doing full-time work in the content creator space for a small business. And it's a very interesting story. And Zenzo's just a great guy. And then at the end of Zenzo's episode, I have a special, interesting announcement of my own, which won't be that interesting for most people, but
it's a cool nugget.
Yeah, it's a fun thing that I hope people go over and check it out, and then learn at the end of the episode something that I'll add. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for submitting. Thank you for sharing your work with us and trusting us to give our opinions about what we see and about what you do, and giving us an opportunity to elevate this IndieEye Film Award indie filmmaker community.
Yep.
Thank you again for the very kind reviews you leave at Film Freeway.
And don't forget to follow us at IndieEye Film Awards on Instagram and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can interact with us there when you listen/watch the podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Do what Dre said. We'll see you next month.
Okay, bye.
If you'd like your project discussed on the podcast, go to IndieEyeFilmAwards.com and submit to our open monthly competition. Find us on Instagram and YouTube, IndieEye Film Awards. Thanks for listening to this episode of IndieEye.
The story centers on a chance encounter between enemy combatants in the mall. In the
mall? Well, let's all go to the mall.
Hold on. 3, 2, 1.